It's got 3 rows, it weighs 6,000 pounds, and it was designed for family duties. So naturally, I spent the week with this Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro doing exactly the opposite. Trail braking into corners that should terrify any SUV, full throttle launches that would embarrass some sports cars, exploring some unknown dirt trails that makes Jeep owners nervous. And here's the thing that'll mess with your head. This Sequoia TRD Pro doesn't just survive this abuse, it asks for more. In this episode, we're going to explore why Toyota built a 3-row hybrid that breaks every rule about what family SUVs are supposed to be. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things. And on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. In this episode, we're testing one of Toyota's more controversial decisions, and that is a hybrid that prioritizes performance over efficiency. While most manufacturers will chase fuel mileage numbers, Toyota has built something here that can tow 9,000 pounds, climb mountains, and embarrass some sports cars at stoplights. In this episode, we're going to explore whether this hybrid actually delivers on those promises or is a whole bunch of marketing hype. And before we get into what this is like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter M, which stands for mud bath, and this mud bath paint is basically the only change for the Sequoia TRD Pro in 2025. But that's not a bad thing. It still uses body-on-frame construction, so it's a proper truck. The power unit is based on a 3.5-liter V6 with 2 turbos and an electric motor. Here, Toyota put an electric motor that makes 48 horsepower and 184 pounds of torque between the engine and transmission, and then called it assistance. That's like calling a rocket booster a helpful suggestion. In total, the power unit makes 437 horsepower at 5,200 RPM and 583 pounds of torque at 2,400 RPM. The hybrid battery is a 1.87 kilowatt hour size. Transmission's a 10-speed automatic. This is part-time 4-wheel drive with an electronically controlled transfer case and a locking rear diff. Steering's electrically assisted. The suspension is specific to this TRD Pro. As you can see, shocks are by Fox. They're 2.5-inch internal bypass coilovers with remote reservoirs on the rear shocks only. Brakes are meaningful. Multi-piston calipers at the front clamping 13.9-inch rotors, single piston calipers at the rear. Wheels and tires are specific to the TRD Pro. The wheels are forged BBSs, they're 18s, and the tires are 285 wide Falcon Wild Peak all-terrains. This one will tow a little over 9,000 pounds. Curb weight of this TRD Pro is 6,150 pounds, and it's got a little over 9 inches of ground clearance. Fun fact, approach and departure angles are 23 and 20 degrees respectively, which means it can climb steeper slopes than most people's learning curves. And of course, this has crawl control and the multi-terrain select off-road drive modes, plus it has a 3rd row that can fit actual humans, which is exceptionally rare in this segment. This will tow a little over 9,000 pounds, which means you can haul a boat, a trailer, and all of your regrets. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. Here behind the wheel, this is modern Toyota truck. So if you're familiar with the Sequoia, as we are on this channel, or even the Tundra, this is all very familiar. What we do have is a rugged pickup kind of oriented cockpit, and for the most part, I don't have any complaints. Love this seat, love how big it is, how comfortable it is. And of course, in TRD Pro spec, it's heated and cooled, and I've got the ventilation on right now because it's probably 85 degrees outside. The seat is power adjustable with some basic adjustments. Thankfully, there is some lumbar support for people like us who have back issues, and there's lots of adjustment in the steering column so you can set yourself up with a very effective seating position. The steering wheel is definitely especially on the large diameter size. I suppose it suits the character of this Sequoia, given that in TRD Pro spec, you can do a little bit of off-roading, and this is a little helpful when you're off-roading. But to be fair, given that most of your driving will be done on the road, personally, I'd prefer a smaller diameter steering wheel. Decent relationship to the pedals, and there is a dead pedal for my left foot, which has been useful today since we've been doing a little bit of off-roading and maybe a little bit of high-speed cornering on some asphalt. The instrument cluster is digital and it's legible in all kinds of lighting conditions. Really dig that. The other thing I appreciate is that the Sequoia TRD Pro has cameras everywhere. You can see everything, and it's especially helpful when you are doing some off-roading. Ergonomics are very Toyota truck. There's a large volume knob, and then after that we've got all kinds of switches everywhere that are easy to manipulate, logically laid out, and they all feel exceptionally high quality, as if this thing is meant to last several decades. The shifter is pretty straightforward. There is a manual mode if you slide it over to sport and then decide on shifting your own gears. This is laid out the opposite of traditional racing sequentials, so push forward to go up and pull back to go down. Then we have this drive mode selector, which has the on-road modes, the off-road modes, the crawl mode, which allows that downhill cruise control, crawl control thing that some of you off-roaders like, as well as the tow and haul mode. Beside that, there is the electronic shifter for the transfer case, and of course your options are 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. Storage is the name of the game here in this Sequoia, no question about that. But even here in the front row, lots of room for your stuff. Wireless phone charger up here, easy to deal with. Couple of cup holders here, bottle holders in the door, multiple bottle holders in each door, by the way. And then I've got some more water bottles here in the storage underneath the armrest. Second row, very spacious. Seats are very comfortable, and because they're captain's chairs in that second row, your third row passengers can walk right through that second row instead of having to fold the seats up and out of the way in that second row to access the third row. Now, one of the promises that Toyota seems to make about the third row in the Sequoia is that it's meant to fit actual adults, so I had to give it a try. What do you think? Other than my feet being a little cramped back there, I could actually ride back there for a little while without too many complaints. What that does mean, however, when those third row seat backs are folded upright, there's not a lot of storage behind that tailgate. There are a number of issues there that we have to talk about. First, if you are going to use this as a 3-row SUV, well, from time to time, you're going to have to haul things maybe on the roof rack, which I would never use, or in a trailer, and this thing will tow 9,000 pounds, so no issues there. But what a lot of owners have complained about is the load floor for the back when you're not using that third row, and it's much higher off the ground than it really should be. What I will say is that, yeah, you're probably buying this for its 3-row utility, and that's great. But that third row prioritizes the comfort of the humans rather than the cargo carrying versatility of a 3-row SUV. So third row, great for humans, not necessarily the best solution if you're hauling lots of stuff in your 3-row SUV. As long as you get used to loading your cargo a little bit higher than you would normally expect, it's just fine. There is that adjustable shelf in the back, which makes things helpful, but for the most part, I've been driving with that third row folded flat, and loading my gear into it has really not been a problem. And other than testing that third row to see if it actually fits humans, I haven't used it at all. I've kept it folded flat. It does fold down easily with those power switches and then slides easily out of the way. Now, about these off-road cameras, they're good up to about 10 miles an hour, and given the kind of off-road terrain that we've been driving on today, a little higher speed would be helpful, and I haven't found a way to adjust that. So anytime I exceed about 10 miles an hour, those cameras shut off and we're back to the infotainment system. And speaking of the infotainment system, this 14-inch screen is absolutely massive. It dominates the dashboard. But here's the thing, it actually works intuitively. The interface responds immediately, the graphics are crisp and clear, and the menu structure makes sense on the first try. It seems pretty basic, but then you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and they connect faster than most people can find their charging cables. The system feels like it was engineered by people who actually drive cars, not designed by people who simply design user interfaces. It's a refreshingly straightforward interface in a world that's dominated by designs that seem to have been done by interns during finals week. I will say one thing though, and I think it's that Toyota's interior designers actually have children because they've solved some problems that other manufacturers haven't even touched. Those captain's chairs in the second row don't just recline, they actually tumble forward with the pull of one lever, giving third row passengers actual human-sized access instead of having to walk between the captain's chairs. The climate zones mean everybody can have their perfect temperature instead of having to declare war on each other. And that third row, it actually does accommodate people over 5 feet tall. It's like Toyota looked at all the ways people can possibly use a 3-row SUV and said, we can do that. This is just amazing. The way this power unit delivers power and torque is fantastic, and there's an abundance of it, which I really appreciate, especially the way I drive. This will do 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds flat, which is remarkable for a 3-ton SUV. Top speed isn't that important because we are talking about something with the aerodynamics of a brick or two, and it'll do 107 miles an hour, and that is electronically limited. For all the driving that I've been doing, the hybrid system has been seamlessly operating in the background. Every once in a while, we're operating as we are right now because we're coasting down a hill and the engine shuts off, or we're driving on the electric motor, say in a parking lot, for example, as I did earlier today. And that's kind of cool. And then when we want to pick up the throttle, step on the gas, engine fires up, and there is, of course, a little Makse gauge that shows you how much battery you're using in addition to the tachometer. But overall, I find the hybrid system works seamlessly in the background, and like they promised, it does deliver all of this power and torque, not necessarily for efficiency, but for performance above all else. The 10-speed automatic just operates perfectly in the background, no real issues. The only thing I might complain about is, sure, I might like some shift paddles on the back of the steering wheel, but once you get used to how the manual shifting of the shift lever operates, it works just fine. But for the most part, you're just cruising on all of this power unit's torque that it makes, and you're never really in a situation where this has to step down more than one gear when you're asking for acceleration. It just makes an incredible amount of torque from very low engine speeds, and a lot of the credit is due to the twin turbo V6, but also a lot of that credit is due to the electric motor that's sandwiched between the engine and the transmission. As we know on this channel, off-road traction is defined by the tire, and thankfully this Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tire does a great job in all kinds of off-road conditions. I've driven this in snow, in mud. Today it was all very dusty, kind of hard-packed trails, and this tire is extremely versatile. It's a great out-of-the-box tire. Sure, some of you with more specific off-road applications might want to choose a different tire, but for an all-arounder that can kind of do everything, this tire definitely does a good job. And we haven't really needed more than four-wheel drive once in this entire drive, simply because there's so much traction with this tire. Now, keep in mind, there will be situations, if you're a little bit more adventurous, where you're going to need 4 high or 4 low, and even lock the rear diff, and thankfully all of those options are available to you here in this TRD Pro. I haven't bothered to check any of the specifications, but I'm sure there's some sound augmentation going on here, because this does have more of a V8 rumble to it than a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, but it actually does sound pretty decent, and there's some nice low frequency rumble here, at least on the inside. But what I will say is that this power unit, between the twin turbo V6 and the electric motor, it's extremely versatile. You're never wanting for more torque ever. This is just one of those fantastic modern power units that develops all the horsepower you could ever want and then has a pile of torque right from low RPM all the way through the middle of the rev range. And that's the thing with this drivetrain. Most hybrids feel like they're powered by good intentions and hopes. This one feels like it was designed by engineers who actually enjoy driving. The electric motor doesn't simply assist the gas engine, it fundamentally transforms how the power is delivered. There's no lag, no hesitation, no waiting for boost to build. You press the accelerator and physics happens right away. It's the difference between asking nicely and giving orders. One gets results eventually, the other gets results now. The integration is so seamless you forget you're actually driving a hybrid. That is until you realize you just out-accelerated a sports car while carrying 7 people in your Sequoia. Another thing about having this electric motor on board means that turbo lag is not a thing. Any flat spots in the torque curve, well, no, that's just a joke. The torque curve is massive and it's as flat as Kansas. The result is acceleration feels more like a force of nature than a mechanical process. It's relentless, incredibly smooth, and completely addictive. And you'll find yourself, just like me, making excuses to map the throttle. Even though this TRD Pro's dynamic package is optimized for off-roading, it actually does a decent job on the road as well. Sure, the steering's maybe a little on the slow side, but this isn't a sports car. This is an off-road SUV, that's for sure. But steering's direct, precise. Yeah, you can feel those tires rolling over, but certainly that power plant is eager to pull you out of corners, and that's just fine. But actually, there's not a lot of body roll. Perhaps that's one of the upsides to this Fox shocks situation. These Fox shocks seem to do a great job here on the road as well. Now, not a lot of body roll. Pick up the throttle. Wonderful. And let's have a look at the brakes. Brakes are clear, strong. No problem whatsoever. Turn in, pick up the throttle, and we're out of here. There we go. On the road here, the one thing I will say is lacking, and it's because this is not a GR86 or a GR Supra or a GR Corolla. There's not a lot of feedback coming from the chassis or from the steering wheel, but from the brakes, well, the brake pedal is excellent. I get clear control out of that brake pedal, and I get decent feel as well. I can control the attitude of this Sequoia just with that brake pedal alone. Very impressive. On the road, ride quality is excellent and it's well controlled. Comfort is superb, and that of course has to do with these tires because there's lots of compliance on the sidewall, as well as the Fox shocks. They just do a fantastic job. The flip side of that coin is those shocks are so good, they do an excellent job of controlling body and wheel movement. It's astounding because they do such a great job off-road, and then on the road, this ride is well controlled and compliant. I don't think you can get a better riding Sequoia than this one. This does have some advanced driver assist, so it's got a lane keep system and adaptive cruise, and I actually use that a fair bit to get out here to the countryside and do a little off-roading with you today, and works just fine. It is a Toyota system, so it does leave a lot of following distance from the car in front of you. So in a busy city like mine, what that means is tons of people will cut you off if you're using that on a day-to-day basis. But taking the freeway out to the country, this was just a joy, and the adaptive cruise works flawlessly. If you're new to the whole idea of TRD Pros, the first thing you have to know is that these Fox shocks are the real deal. They're not just regular dampers with stickers thrown on them. They're an internal bypass design, and that means they adjust compression and rebound based on the position of the shaft and its speed inside the damper. In the real world, that means they can have the firmness to control 6,000 pounds through corners and still be compliant enough to soak up a bumpy trail without beating you to death. It's like having a suspension system with multiple personalities, except every one of those personalities is actually competent. The tuning is so well done that you can go straight from asphalt to a technical trail without touching a single button or switch. Some manufacturers might throw a whole bunch of very expensive off-road oriented parts at a problem like this. Toyota resolved it simply with some sound engineering, and it does a great job. As I inadvertently learned, this Sequoia is a proper life hack in an urban environment like where I live, and the thing is, you don't have to slow down for speed bumps. And when you're on the road, physics says that something this heavy and this tall should not corner that well. Thankfully, Toyota's engineers didn't get that memo. The combination of this latest generation body on frame construction, properly tuned anti-roll bars, and the Fox shocks creates handling characteristics that defy what the Sequoia looks like. Body roll's minimal, steering response is immediate, if a little slow, and the chassis feels composed even when you're pushing harder than any reasonable person would push a three-row SUV. And the best thing is that both the stability and traction control systems know when to let you play and when to reel you back in, which is remarkable for Toyota because they love to do conservative systems. How do you spec yours? Well, for starters, you are looking at a 2025 Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro in the signature mud bath paint that's only available on the TRD Pro. In the US, base price and as tested is one and the same. It's $80,295 because in the US, this wouldn't be equipped with any options. In the US, you can option the tow package, the power tow mirrors, and the panoramic roof. None of those are available in Canada. And speaking of which, in Canada, base price and as tested is $99,123. And these prices are before freight, taxes, fees, etc. At this price, the Sequoia TRD Pro sits among some interesting company. You could get a heavy-duty pickup that offers more towing capacity, but no third row, of course. You could also choose a traditional SUV that offers comparable space, but significantly less performance. The TRD Pro occupies this unique space where capability, performance, and practicality converge at a price that's high, but defensible. It's expensive enough to make you think twice, but capable enough to make you write the check anyway. Now, in terms of speccing yours, I always have some thoughts when it comes to TRD Pros. Their signature colors sometimes are a hit or a miss for me. You may love this. I'm not necessarily a fan. It is nice paint, though. It does have a bit of metallic to it. As well, with TRD Pros, I would never use the roof rack ever. So I would delete that. Even though this comes with the roof rack, I would absolutely delete the roof rack. I would get mine in a different color. And if I were in the US and did tow from time to time, I would definitely get the tow package, the power tow mirrors, and certainly I would consider that panoramic sunroof if I were in the US. But otherwise, it's simply a matter of choosing the color for your Sequoia TRD Pro and be happy with all of its capabilities. Fun fact and good news about that price, any TRD Pro holds its resale value better than people hold on to their New Year's resolutions. My verdict, well, let's start with fuel consumption. I'm getting about 15 miles per gallon or 15 liters per 100 kilometers for my Canadian friends, and I'm not chasing fuel consumption. I'm enjoying all of the power and torque that this powertrain makes. That said, I'd love to hear from Sequoia TRD Pro owners to understand what you're getting in the real world, so leave a comment below, please. Much appreciated. As for this Sequoia TRD Pro, what did we learn after breaking every conventional SUV rule for the last week? And here's the thing, Toyota didn't simply build a capable family hauler, they engineered a genuine performance machine that happens to seat 8. That power unit, the Fox suspension tuning, and the electronic systems integration, it all comes together to create something that shouldn't exist but absolutely does. At this price, you're not just buying all of these capabilities, you're buying the freedom to ignore the limitations that define this segment. And sometimes the best engineering is revealed when pushing the conventional boundaries that never get pushed in the first place. This TRD Pro is exactly what happens when engineers set out to solve a specific set of problems, unlike when focus groups come up with their own marketing solutions. And here's the bottom line. If you need a three-row SUV to do serious three-row SUV work, this Sequoia TRD Pro should be at the top of your list. Sure, you could say it's expensive, but it's expensive for all the good reasons. It ticks all of the capability boxes, but if you want something that can handle family duties during the week and serious adventures on the weekends without forcing you to compromise either of those, this is your answer. This Sequoia TRD Pro redefines what a family three-row SUV is capable of, and for drivers like us, that's definitely worth celebrating. In a world of compromised crossovers and soulless luxury SUVs, this Sequoia TRD Pro actually stands out for being really good at SUV things which shouldn't be revolutionary, but in 2025, it seems like it is. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch, and Toyota is still making some fantastic manuals. Thanks, Toyota. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Toyota Sequoias. And since you've hung around this long, well, have a look at something that's closely related to this, but a little bit different take. So if you need a truck, but like the Sequoia, well, have a look at our episode about the Tundra TRD Pro. I think you'll like it. Thanks again for watching. See you again next time.